You know what's strange? We spend most of our lives being told we have to be with someone, that being partnered means you're stable, normal, complete. But here's the truth no one talks about after 70. Being single might actually be the best thing that ever happened to you. And I'm not just saying that to make you feel better. I'm saying that because I've seen it, lived it, and spoken to people who've discovered a kind of peace they never imagined once they stopped waiting on someone else to make them happy. Let's start with something real. You wake up and the house is quiet, but it's your kind of quiet. No one asking what's for breakfast. No one turning the television up too loud. No tiptoeing around someone else's bad mood. Just you, your time, your space. That stillness isn't loneliness, it's freedom. Now sure, that silence can be scary at first, but it also lets you hear your own thoughts again. For the first time in years, you can ask yourself, what do I want today? And mean it. I remember meeting a woman named Florence. She was 73 when her husband passed. She told me, I was married for 51 years. I loved him, I really did, but I didn't realize how much of my life was wrapped up in his routine, not mine. A year later, Florence had joined a walking group, taken up painting, and even learned to use an iPad. She said, I thought I'd feel broken, but I feel like I'm finally alive. That's not to say being single is always easy, but after 70, it offers something most couples don't talk about: permission to finally prioritize yourself. Your meals, your hobbies, your schedule, your thoughts. You don't have to check in with anyone. You don't have to explain why you want to sleep in or skip a family event. You don't have to deal with someone else's mood swings or medical routines on top of your own. That simplicity, it's a gift. And here's the thing: if you've spent your life caregiving, giving more than you received, biting your tongue, playing the peacekeeper, being single can feel like finally exhaling after decades of holding your breath. If this message is speaking to your soul, subscribe right now, because we don't just talk about aging here, we talk about owning it with grace, honesty, and a little humor too. And while we're being honest, let's face this. Being single after 70 means fewer arguments. No one to disagree with over little things. No one nagging you about the thermostat or what time you eat. You get to decide. You get to breathe. Like this video if you've ever realized that peace and partnership don't always go hand in hand. Share it with a friend who might be feeling ashamed of being single because they're probably stronger than they realize. Because next, we're going to dig into something powerful: how being single can actually make your health, your friendships, and your spirit stronger than ever. Let's talk about something most people don't realize until they're finally on their own. Being single after 70 can actually make you healthier. And no, I don't just mean emotionally, I mean physically too. Think about it. You're no longer stressed about someone else's habits. You're not cooking meals to match someone else's diet. You're not staying up late watching shows you don't care about, or skipping walks because your partner didn't feel like going. You move at your own pace, and that's when real healing begins. One man named Dennis, 76, told me this after his divorce. I thought my health would get worse when I was alone, but for the first time in years, I stopped eating junk at night. I started walking. I started sleeping better. My blood pressure dropped, and my doctor told me I looked 10 years younger. That's not magic. That's freedom. When you're single, you're not dragged down by someone else's patterns. You start tuning in to your needs. What food makes you feel better? What movement your body enjoys? You become your own advocate. And it doesn't stop with physical health. Being single gives you the chance to grow new friendships. Because here's something that happens in long relationships: you end up in a bubble. You and your spouse do everything together. You might slowly stop reaching out to friends. You stop trying new things. But when you're on your own, that bubble pops. And yes, it's uncomfortable. But it's also where connection begins again. You join a book club. You meet a friend for lunch. You actually pick up the phone when it rings, instead of letting it go to voicemail. There's something so refreshing about walking into a room and not having to say, "My husband said I couldn't make it," or "My wife already made plans." You just go. You show up. You're you. If you're realizing that maybe, just maybe, This season of your life could be more empowering than you thought. Subscribe right now. You deserve to hear this kind of truth. And you deserve to live the rest of your life on your terms. And if anyone's ever made you feel like being single means being left behind or less than, let me tell you something. Being single is not a failure. It's a form of freedom. A space where you don't owe explanations, where you can rediscover joy, where you get to choose and not settle. Like this video if you've ever felt stronger after walking alone. Share it with someone who needs to hear that being single doesn't mean being lonely. It means being available to yourself, to new experiences, to peace. Because next, we're going to explore how being single after 70 might just be the secret to finally living the way you've always wanted but never had the space to do it. Let's get honest about something most people won't say out loud. Being single after 70 doesn't mean you gave up on love. It means you finally chose peace. So many people spend their later years holding on to relationships that drain them, out of obligation, out of habit, out of fear. But what if the greatest gift you could give yourself in this stage of life is space? Space to breathe, space to think, space to finally be without the noise of compromise. See, when you're single after 70, something surprising happens. You remember who you were before life got complicated, before caregiving, before sacrifices, before making sure everyone else was okay while you quietly tucked your needs away. And now, you have time to pick those pieces back up, to paint again, to sing, to read entire books without being interrupted, to dance around your kitchen and not explain yourself to anyone. There's a kind of power in waking up and realizing that you owe no one your time but yourself. Let me tell you about Ruth. She was 79 when her husband passed away. At first, she crumbled. She didn't know how to be alone. But after the grief settled, she did something she never thought she could. She booked a one-way ticket to Italy. 3 weeks, alone. She said, "I thought I needed permission to live boldly. Turns out, I just needed silence long enough to hear what I really wanted." That's what this season of life is for. It's not about starting over. It's about starting fully, maybe for the first time. You eat what you want. You spend how you want. You don't wait for someone else to be ready. You just go. And don't let anyone make you feel like you're missing out. Because truthfully, you're missing less now than you ever were before. If this resonates with you even just a little, subscribe now. This channel is a space for seniors who are done apologizing for wanting more peace, more purpose, and more self-respect. And if you're scared of being alone, I'll say this. There is nothing lonelier than being in a relationship where you don't feel seen. At least when you're single, you know who you're depending on. You know the quiet is yours, not rejection, not judgment, just stillness. Like this video if you've discovered strength you never knew you had by walking alone. Share it with someone over 60 who's been questioning whether they're behind in life because maybe they're finally catching up to who they were meant to be. You're not alone. You're not broken. You're not missing anything. You're free. And at this age, that's the most valuable thing you can ever have. So here's to the single ones, to the brave, the wise, the quietly powerful, to those who aren't waiting on love to live fully. Because the truth is, you're not done living, but if you don't claim your freedom now, you might stop living without even realizing it. Here's to living bold, living whole, and living beautifully single.